Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our session on right to food amidst the ongoing COVID 19 pandemic. For this session, we have our guest speakers, Dr. Parikshit Sirohi, Assistant Professor, Faculty of Law, DU. His specialty is in IPRs, food security laws, and cyber laws. Also, he had practiced in all courts, High Court, District Court, and Supreme Court in various parts of India. So after this, we have Advocate Anshul Chaudhary. He's also practicing in Supreme Court, and he is very active in PILs also, and actively working for providing food to economically weaker sections of society. Uh, Again, we have Advocate Piyush P. Thakur. He's practicing in Delhi High Court, and he's running his own law firm by the name of TNS Associates. So currently, first of all, I'm welcoming you all, and
Thank
currently,
you.
yeah, he is also having a responsibility. Mr. Piyush Thakur is having a responsibility as a spokesperson of BJYM Youth Wing of BJP Delhi. So I think we should start with our session. So our session is divided into three parts: origin of right to food and its historical development, right to food and its essence as a fundamental and human right, and third is free food amidst COVID-19 pandemic, a state responsibility or a collective social responsibility. So let's start with our first topic, which is origin of right to food and its historical development. And I would like to start with Dr. Parikshit Sirohi. So, sir, over to you.
Thank you very much, ma'am, and a very good evening to all of you on this wonderful topic and on this warm summer evening, I should say. And my co-panelists on this Friday evening, I have had the good fortune of knowing Mr. Anshul Chaudhary and his work. I have known him for about almost a decade now. And so I have known him since the time he was a student. And Mr. Thakur's work also, I have had the good fortune of reading about it. So thank you very much to this organization, Lex Walk, for organizing this. I've had the good fortune of working with many of these people who are the founders of this at various stages. So very good work by all of them. And now coming to this particular topic of right to food, how it has originated. See, traditionally, food was always the responsibility of the sovereign, the state. In older times, it was always the responsibility of the king to provide food to everybody who was living, right? And it was regarded as the most basic human right without which a person could not subsist or survive. And so this is the king's responsibility, the sovereign's responsibility. The land is basically vested in the sovereign. It is used to grow food, and the sovereign collects it and gives it to the unfortunate ones who do not have enough. Agriculture being the dominant this thing. For example, there are merchants, traders, soldiers. They need to be given food. It is the responsibility of the king. So that's why this never was really a problem in countries like ours initially. Problems first crept into the system when the British came in and when the taxation became very high. Taxation was always in forms of food, in forms of food grains. And when the taxation became very high, then you had a large number of famines in India, the most famous being the Bengal famine of the 19th century. So, and globally, you've had this problem in other countries. You've had problems in Europe, you've had problems in Central America, you've had problems in Africa. Now, the UDHR actually is the first document, 1948, Universal Declaration of Human Rights. That is really the first international document which recognizes this. And UDHR, as you would be aware, is a creation of the United Nations. United Nations comes up after the Second World War, after the failure of the League of Nations. And UDHR recognizes the right to food for the very first time. And it says that, look, this is a very basic, fundamental human right, and without which human beings cannot exist. Based on this, you have Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was the president of United States. He had this famous For Freedom speech, and in 1951. And there he talks about the freedom from want. The freedom from want, he says, is the biggest freedom. Want means food. So food is the biggest component of freedom from want, and freedom from want in turn is the biggest component of your basic human rights. Now here is where the legal framework starts in the modern era. And then of course it has developed. Some countries have made it an explicit human right, explicit fundamental right. Some countries have done this through international conventions, and some countries have done it through municipal law. And some countries have done it through overlapping measures. Some have done it through DPSP, Directive Principles of State Policy. Countries which have done this. So in various countries, you could have more than one of such measure also. You could be protected under DPSP, which is non-justiciable, or the equivalent of DPSP in those countries, or you could be protecting it also under fundamental rights. At the same time, you could have more than one. You could be protecting it under international conventions. So there is actually a gamut of international conventions talking about right to food. There is UN Convention on Economic, Social, Cultural Rights. There is Convention on Child Rights, CRC 1979. There is Convention on CEDAW, Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. So all of them talk about right to food explicitly. But UDHR is the most basic one. And based on this, countries have enacted. So, see, food growing areas and food consumption areas are different. There are some countries, some states, some nations which will always be breadbaskets, and there will be some which will always be dependent on others. That is how this whole system works. And so, to throw the discussion open further, I will just like to talk about some of the countries which have made fundamental laws. So, Argentina is the first country in the world, way back in the 1970s, which has made a law on food sovereignty. So they say that we have to be sovereign. We have to be not be dependent on anyone for food. And when we say food, what are we basically concentrating on? We are concentrating on cereals. So rice, wheat, corn. This is what we are concerning ourselves with. And then at the world level, you have had grain conventions, food aid conventions, etc., etc. This problem at the world level has started for the first time in the wake of. I will just take 2 or 3 more minutes, ma'am, if it's okay. Um, and this problem has started for the first time in the crisis started in the 60s, when the United States and Canada and all these people who were big grain producing countries, they started cutting down on their production because they said storage ka bahut zyada cost hota hai. The storage of grain is involving costs. Warehousing costs are very high. So that is why these countries started cutting down. And then the problem happened in 1973 when you had this. So this culmination started in the 60s. U.S. Congress passed a bill. Similar things happened in Canada. Similar things happened in Mexico. Similar things happened in Australia. So production was जानबूझ के कम किया. And then in the 1973, when the oil shock happened, suddenly there was a very major crisis because food was being used now for producing oil, for diversion of food from to feed to oil. That is when this problem first happened. The second part of the problem happened in 2007-8 at the global level, when there was, again, there was agriculture failure in many of these countries. Australia, for example, has been having constant droughts. Millennial drought is very famous. 2000 to 2010, they have been having constant droughts. Entire of their dominant area called the Murray-Darling Basin, the two rivers, Murray River and the Darling River. So the Murray-Darling Basin, just like Ganga, Yamuna in India, the region between Ganga, Yamuna, the Doab region, that is the major producing area, and that is what suffered. So that is when countries like India, they started having problems because of the sheer size of the population. If a country like India goes in the world market, obviously prices are going to shoot through the roof, which is what happened in 2007-8. So this is as regards the situation at the international level. A lot of work, a lot of national legislations have happened in countries across the world. If I were to pick up one country in different continents of the world, I will pick up Uganda and South Africa in Africa. South Africa is a different case. We will talk about it later because it is the country with the highest Gini coefficient. Despite making it an explicit fundamental right in the constitution, they still have a very serious problem. So law बनाने से कुछ नहीं होता है, उसको implement भी करना पड़ता है. Sometimes laws have to be implemented and you need various. Uganda is one country which has done well. Bangladesh has done very well in Asia. Europe nowadays in the present day there is no problem, but some people like Belarus etc. have done very well. Latin America again is the pioneer. Brazil, Argentina, Belarus, they've all done fantastic work. in this Bolivia, I'm sorry, Belarus is in Europe. Bolivia has done very good work. All of these countries, Brazil, Argentina, fantastic work. And we have to look at China also, because China being such a big country, China again has a different system. They have this urban passport system called Huku, HUKUO. So they allow people to come into cities to work as laborers, to come and live in the cities. But what happens is, if they need them, they give it something like an urban passport. But their children are left behind in villages, and they are left to fend for themselves. Creates problems of food insecurity. So we will probably, if time permits, look at China and these kind of things separately. So as far as my opening remarks are concerned, this is it, ma'am.
थैंक यू सो मच सर. पीयूष सर, मैं आपसे पूछना चाहती हूँ, आपका क्या टेक है इस पर?
First, at the very outset, I would like to thank Deepak Joshi for inviting me here, and of course for giving me this opportunity to speak on this issue. सबसे बड़ी जो चीज है, मुझे लगता है कि of course Parikshit sir has rightly said and rightly pointed out that whatever condition means the government is doing something, means there are various laws which are there to tackle this particular menace, means the menace of hunger, and that's why we are giving right to food to the people. But the basic problem lies with the implementation. But before that, first I would like to discuss that what is the basic reason and what is the main, means the root cause for this problem. अगर देखिए कि हमारे समाज में, चूंकि पहले टेम्पल एक ईपी सेंटर हुआ करता था, मतलब चाहे वो मतलब इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटीज की बात हो और इधर यू विल टॉक अबाउट द सोशल एक्टिविटीज, they are taking care of everything, means even they are feeding the poor. At the same time, means they are giving employments to the various sections of the society. टेम्पल के सडनली इन्वेडर्स के आने के बाद टेम्पल अटैक जब स्टार्ट हुआ, उसके बाद जब आपके पास टेम्पल नहीं रहा तो वो बेसिक इकोसिस्टम जो वो खत्म.
सही बात. और
उसके खत्म होने से यू डू नॉट हैव एनी अदर अपॉर्चुनिटी बट टू लुक फॉर द अदर्स, एंड दैट्स व्हाई दे मींस द सोसाइटी कंप्लीटली डिपेंडेंट ऑन द सोवरेन. और फिर उसके बाद जो स्टेट की क्या उसमें क्या रोल रहने वाला है, वो काफी कुछ डिसाइड करने लगा कि इस पे होना क्या है. जो एक दूसरा इसका पर्सपेक्टिव है, अगर हम देखें, इंडिपेंडेंस से पहले भी और इंडिपेंडेंस के बाद भी कंटिन्यूअसली गवर्नमेंट ने भी अलग अलग रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस लाके टेम्पल पर कंट्रोल भी किया है. और जैसे अगर आप देखोगे इन 1951 इवन द मींस गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया पास्ड वन एक्ट दैट इज कॉल्ड हिंदू रिलीजियस एंड चैरिटेबल एंडोमेंट एक्ट 1951, and the various state government has passed similar act, and through means by passing this particular act they have started the control over the temples. It means for them temple is only a money making institution. और फिर उसके बाद टेम्पल के पास कुछ बचता नहीं है कि वो अगल बगल के लोगों को कुछ खिला सके. अभी आप कंडीशन में, कुछ 2 दिन पहले का न्यूज है कि तिरुपति टेम्पल इतना कैश रिच टेम्पल है, वो लगभग 1500 अपने एम्प्लॉयज को ले ऑफ कर. अब आप सोचो कि कोई इतना कैश रिच इंस्टीट्यूशन कैसे ले ऑफ कर सकता है, वो भी तब जब इस कंडीशन में, जबकि इतनी बड़ी जॉब क्राइसिस कोविड के बाद पैदा होने का. दूसरा एक बड़ा इशू जो है वो है पॉपुलेशन एक्सप्लोजन का. क्योंकि हम कितना भी मतलब राइट टू फूड की हम यहाँ बात कर ले, कितने भी इम्प्लीमेंटेशन की बात कर ले, लेकिन जो बेसिक प्रॉब्लम वो आ रहा है वो है इतने बड़े पॉपुलेशन को, मतलब अब तो लगभग 1.5 बिलियन पॉपुलेशन वाली कंट्री हो रहे हैं, जहां पर पर डे हम लगभग 70,000 किड्स पैदा कर रहे हैं. मींस वी आर प्रोड्यूसिंग लाइक रैबिट्स. और फिर इस कंडीशन में हम फिर ऐसे कितने को आप पहुंचा पाएंगे? इम्प्लीमेंटेशनल फ्लॉ आएंगे, करप्शन लेवल जो है वो हाई रहेगा, तो उसके लिए आपके पास प्रॉपर मैकेनिज्म नहीं है जिसको कि आप इस चीज को इम्प्लीमेंट कर सके. और साथ ही साथ अगर ये नहीं हो पाया है तो इसके 2 मतलब इससे प्रॉब्लम्स आ रहे हैं, वो है एक अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट और दूसरा माइग्रेशन. आप देखो कि अभी कितना, मतलब पूरे कोविड के पूरे ड्यूरेशन में माइग्रेशन के कितना बड़ा प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट हो रहा है. बिहार गवर्नमेंट ने कहा कि हमें 1500 ट्रेन चाहिए जिससे कि अपने पॉपुलेशन को हम दोबारा फिर स्टेट गवर्नमेंट पे लेके हम आ सकते हैं. तो इस कंडीशन में जब तक अपने हम पॉपुलेशन को कंट्रोल नहीं करेंगे, जब तक हम पॉपुलेशन कंट्रोल बिल नहीं लाएंगे या लॉ पास नहीं करेंगे, तब तक ये इंप्लीमेंटेशन बहुत मुश्किल, मतलब मुझे लगता है कि अभी करंटली पोजीशन में बहुत ज्यादा मुश्किल है. और तीसरा, हम सभी मतलब हमें ऐसा लगता है कि बाहर से एफडीआई आएगी, बाहर से कंपनियां आ जाएगी, सारे प्रॉब्लम मतलब वन गो में सॉल्व हो जाएंगे. सी, एफडीआई कैन नेवर बी अ पैनेसिया फॉर दिस, because during Vajpayee era, Vajpayee means central government has permitted 100% FDI in food cold storage chain, but not a single person turned up. कोई नहीं आया, कोई एक इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं आया. क्योंकि उनको लगता है कि कोल्ड चेन का जो पूरा मैकेनिज्म है वो एक कंप्लीट फेलियर है इस दिस कंट्री में। और उसके क्या है, छोटे छोटे लैंड्स हैं, उतने प्रोडक्शन। अब जैसे बिहार में पॉपुलेशन इतना ज्यादा है या यूपी में पॉपुलेशन इतना ज्यादा है, लेकिन कोल्ड चेन की कोई स्टोर मतलब वहां पर फैसिलिटीज नहीं है। आप इसलिए देखते हैं कि कितने ज्यादा से जो ग्रेन्स हैं वो बर्बाद हो रहे हैं। बाहर में कहीं बारिश में कभी वो खत्म हो जा रहा है, बाढ़ आने से खत्म हो जा रहा है। और अभी इसी कंडीशन में कोविड के टाइम में पूरा नॉर्थ इंडिया बारिश से वहां पर काफी ज्यादा बारिश हुई है। उस कंडीशन में अभी सारे के सारे क्रॉप्स जो है वो फील्ड में है। तो फिर अगर इसके बावजूद कि अगर आप इसमें कुछ भी अगर एक्टिव अगर स्टेप मतलब अगर पॉजिटिव अगर स्टेप भी अगर गवर्नमेंट लेगी तो इन सारी चीजों से कैसे टैकल वो करेगी। और मुझे लगता है कि पहले के समय से भी लगातार सरकार इसके लिए चिंतित होती रही है। अगर आप डैम की ही अगर हिस्ट्री देखो तो एक कालानाई डैम है, कालानाई डैम कावेरी पे है, तंजौर डिस्ट्रिक्ट है तमिलनाडु का, वहां पर वो पूरा डैम है। और वो वे बैक मीन्स I think this particular dam was built in Chola era and it means around 100 BC to 100 AD। इस ड्यूरेशन का वो डैम बना हुआ है जो अभी भी एग्जिस्ट करता है। अब सबसे बड़ी बात यह है कि मतलब गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसीज बनाए, लेकिन इंप्लीमेंटेशन के लिए हम साथ ही साथ जो सारे इंपॉर्टेंट मेजर्स हैं गवर्नमेंट को जो लेने हैं, मुझे लगता है कि वो भी पहले लेना होगा। और उसके लिए जो अदर इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं बियॉन्ड गवर्नमेंट, उसके सिविल सोसाइटीज को उसमें को साथ लाना होगा। और उसके हिसाब से मुझे लग रहा है कि इस चीज को करने में ज्यादा आसानी होगी। दैट इज माय मींस द ओपनिंग।
थैंक यू। यस
अंशुल सर, आपका इस पर क्या टेक है? हिस्टोरिकल डेवलपमेंट ऑफ राइट।
First of all, thank you to Mr. Deepak Joshi for conducting this discussion on such a crucial topic at such a time, and thank you, Dr. Parikshit sir, for forwarding me this opportunity. And I certainly reply with my regards to you. According to me, majority of the history of the right to food has been covered by Dr. Parikshit sir, and a complete worldview of the same has been given. I tried to cover the right to food in India from the 1940 and how it is now, and the evolution that was supposed to take place but did not take place according to me. So, right to food essentially, according to me, originated in India in a tangible manner in the year 1940, when the public distribution system was set up in place to manage scarcity across different villages. And what used to happen was that while at the time taxation was collected by the then East India Company, the food was also dropped off at villages where there was no food at the time, and that's how an effective distribution system with regard to grains and cereals materialized in India. And the same systems were there in a very casual manner until the time a centralized agency was set up, which was the Food Corporation of India, which was responsible for procuring all food grains and cereals from all farmers at a minimum reserve price. And this surprisingly, from 1940 till 1971, there was not much development in this case, and one can ascertain that because there was no nodal agency for the government where such things were happening, which essentially means that only in 1971 was the need identified that we should have a system in place for procuring the cereals in one place. That was the Food Corporation. And thereafter, the next milestone comes that once the government finally became responsible enough to do it well enough that they were procuring it to people, came the need to disburse the grain to the people living below the poverty line, which was still being done by the public distribution system, which was set up in 1940s. However, the criticism at the time was that the poorest of the poor people were not being reached, and a huge section of the society is still being ignored by the public distribution system. Because of which, in 1997, the government of India introduced the targeted public distribution system, under which the central government was to identify households which require, and then a limit was set up that 6 crore families with 72 lakh million tons of food grains will be served for every year that the targeted TDPS system is put in place. And the key features of this TDPS system were that, one, that there was a basic limit per person was set as the number of food grains that are to be given, and a minimum price of 2 rupees and 2 rupees for rice and 3 rupees for wheat
3, 2,
was
1. Anshul, I just interrupting. I'm sorry. 3, 2, 1. 3 rupees for wheat, 2 rupees for rice, and 1 rupee for coarse grains. That is millets. 3, 2,
right,
1.
sir.
Yes, please
Absolutely,
go ahead.
absolutely, sir.
Please go ahead.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. And even when the TDPS system was put in place, within a span of 3 years, the key was identified that TDPS was only functioning well in the well of municipal areas.
Hmm.
However, the tribals and other places which are far off from the municipal limits were still not being catered to well, because of which the Antodya Ann Yojana came into the picture in the year 2000. And under this yojana, basically the people who are basically the most needy, because they are the poorest of the poor, were identified. They were set up. These were basically the people who were HIV positive. Then there were people who were living in tribal
Hmm.
areas, and then there were people
Hmm.
who were landless farmers. Such kind of needy persons were identified, and a national roll call was maintained. And for the first time, public the list was put in public domain, where the BPL persons were visible for everybody. This had
Hmm.
its criticism that the people who are most needy need not be publicized for everybody to be seen that they needed the most. But at the same point of time, this was the first time that a transparent step was taken with regard to distribution of food products. And now, the key features in modern India are with regard to food security is the 2013 Act, which is the National Food Security Act, which governs essentially the public distribution system, the procurement, the key limits, and the reserve prices that are to be set up by that are to be decided by the central government with regard to distributing the food. This is the first part. The twofold of my uh, what I want to say about the right to food with regard to its evolution is that at the time of independence, the key battle for India with regard to food security was that at the time we did not have much to distribute, because the HYV foods were still not there, and we were still struggling with production. However, now that we are in the year 2020, the production is not as much of a challenge, because as we see that the Food Corporation of India, on an yearly note, says that they have reserve, and a great reserve, and a great deal of that reserve is also wasted every year because of not being distributed properly. So now that right to food is not a matter of production, we identify that what is it essentially that is not guaranteeing the right to food to each and every person in the country. I think, according to me, this particular problem will be a non-effective public distribution system, which is not able to do its job owing to things like leakages, corruption, and all those general problems that tend to be attached to a lot of government agencies. Now, at the same point of time, what I want to throw some light on is the fact that right to food has always been about quantity and giving a certain amount of food grains to certain people. However, very few things have been said about the quality of food that is being served. Now I understand that every person would have the notion that पहले हम उतना दो देते जितना हम दे सकते हैं, उसके बाद देखेंगे कि ठीक दे रहे हैं नहीं दे रहे. But
Hmm.
I think, in my opinion, the quality of the food is as much of a debate as much as quantity should be. Since we, since the figures themselves show that a lot of food is wasted on an yearly note, and the fact that majority of the food that is being given at the ration shops and all those public distribution setups is very substandard food, which a normal household doesn't really buy at all. And the main reason, according to me, that they don't go to a ration shop to purchase food even at the cost side of the government, is because the food quality is really really bad.
Hmm.
With this, I think I conclude my session of the right to food and its origin. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we are concluding this part of our conversation and moving to the second part, which is right to food and its sense in fundamental and human right. So again, starting with Parikshit sir, what do you think about the same?
Okay, so as a fundamental right, yes, Mr. Anshul Chaudhary has rightly pointed out, Piyush ji has also pointed out that, see, the right to food as of today is a very legal and fundamental right. I also touched upon it very briefly in the previous segment. There is an architecture now that has been laid in place in India. I will just take a little bit of a brief. So there was this in the year 2001. There is PUCL, People's Union for Civil Liberties, which is a center for filing PILs. They filed a PIL before the Honorable Supreme Court of India, saying that look, this is a case, as pointed out by Mr. Chaudhary, that this is a case of poverty amidst plenty. Now, just to give you a present day picture, today India is very different from what it was in 1947 in terms of production, procurement, management, storage of food grains. So earlier there was a problem with regards to production. So the Green Revolution, which was concentrated mainly in Punjab and Haryana, mainly in the case of wheat and rice, has seen to it that that problem is not there. Now we are producing more than enough to satisfy our current needs, and we are also exporting food and to all kinds of countries for making all kinds of products. For example, we are exporting wheat to French this thing speaking countries for making pasta, and Durham wheat, which we are cultivating, is going for making pasta, and X wheat, which we are producing, is going to make bread, and so on and so forth. So we are more than sufficient in self this thing. We don't have place to store it. Our storage buffer stock norms are such that we can last 2 years or 3 years without even a single grain being produced, and we are far in excess. So that is why, as Piyush ji pointed out, as Anshul pointed out, we have a problem of storage, and food is often found rotting in FCI godowns, in railway station platforms. There is absolutely no place. You are renting warehouses here and there and center. You are keeping food in unhygienic conditions, unscientific storage. There is something called cap storage, cover and plinth storage, but you don't do it properly. You basically just put tarpaulin sheets. Now that is not going to help it. It is going to rot. And this is very, I mean, it is a waste on several counts. You have, see, the objective of the setting up of the FCI way back in the 50s as a statutory body, Act of Parliament, is that you should have a canalized agency through which food is going to be procured. इसके तीन फायदे होते हैं. एक तो फार्मर को एक मिनिमम सपोर्ट प्राइस मिलता है कि भाई फार्मर को पता है कि मुझे 100 रुपए मिलेंगे, 50 रुपए मिलेंगे, 10 रुपए मिलेंगे, whatever. And MSPs keep on increasing. They are announced every year and they keep on increasing. दूसरा, आपका बफर स्टॉक मेंटेन होता है. और तीसरा, कंज्यूमर को गारंटी है कि मुझे अपने PTS, TPDS, RPDS, ये सारे उसके अवतार हैं in the same system. TPDS, RPDS, revamped, targeted, all these things. उसका आपको जो है मिलेगा. So this is, I mean, you'll get food. Now, as rightly pointed out by Mr. Chaudhary, the quality of food that is granted at these is abysmal. Absolutely horrible. Earlier, and in fact, even today in many states, they are giving not just wheat and rice, they are also giving lots of other items. For example, Chhattisgarh is giving matches, hair oil, cooking oil. Tamil Nadu is giving coconut oil. They are giving sugar. They are giving matches. इस तरह की चीजें हैं at highly subsidized prices or often at negligible prices. But the quality is so bad. The sugar you get in the market for 50 rupees a kg is absolutely white in color. And the sugar that you get in PDS is absolutely black in color. That is because there is dirt in it. It is not refined properly. Similarly, rice, wheat, etc. There are tremendous leakages. So, because of all of this Center for Public Interest Litigation says, PUCL says that look, what is this? There is plenty of food. It is lying in the open. It is getting rotten. And 47 people have died in southeastern Rajasthan, which is Dholpur, Bharatpur, these kinds of areas. Very backward people. हमेशा गरीब आदमी सबसे पहले मरता है. So यहाँ पे भी सबसे backward SC ST वाले लोग जो हैं सबसे पहले मर रहे हैं. ये आप क्या कर रहे हैं? Supreme Court immediately took it as a PIL, and this became setting the stage for the world's longest. Please note, this is not India's. This is the world's longest surviving mandamus anywhere in the world. This lasted for 15-16 years. 160 interim orders have been passed from time to time. 160 interim orders. Daily appearance, daily hearing of top officers of the government and top officer of the state government and central government. Attorney General arguing, Solicitor General arguing, all ASGs arguing, right? Then Chief Secretaries of all states coming and showing their face every day. Food Secretary of Government of India, Joint Secretary of Government of India in charge of NFSA, in charge of public distribution, every day. Principal secretaries of states dealing with food, every day they are coming, their affidavits are coming every day, every aspect. Court has appointed court commissioners of its own, right? NC Saxena, Harsh Mandar, these kinds of people to go and look into the ground realities. कोर्ट कहता है हमारे पास एक्सपर्टीज नहीं है, हमारे पास एक्सपीरियंस नहीं है इस एरिया का, तो आप जाके इसमें फील्ड में जाइए. And Deepak knows a thing or two about this. That is actually insider information, because when I was writing my thesis on this subject, Deepak has come and helped me. So he knows a thing or two about what I'm talking about, but that is insider information. Okay, so that is on a lighter note. So all of these things are there. So court appoints these people, they go bring realities, monitoring of all government schemes, this comes to the notice. Court passes interim orders on everything. इतना चावल दीजिए, इतना ये दीजिए, इमीडिएटली आप अनाउंस करिए, जब कोई ड्राउट होता है तब और ज्यादा दीजिए. The landmark order is there on 12th of August 2010 by a bench of Justice Deepak Verma, headed by a bench of Justice Deepak Verma. And he says the best place to store food is in the hungry stomach of the hungry people. ये आप खाना सड़ाइए मत. इस देश में जब इतने लोग भूखे सोते हैं, एक गेहूं का एक अन्न भी अगर वेस्ट हो रहा है तो ये बर्बादी है. बेस्ट प्लेस टू स्टोर फूड इज इन द स्टमक ऑफ द हंग्री पीपल. ऐसे करके ऑर्डर्स आए, 160 इंटरिम ऑर्डर्स, एवरी सिंगल एस्पेक्ट हैज बीन कवर्ड. वो कहते हैं आप आईटी यूज करिए. नंदन नीलेकनी को बुलाया, प्रेजेंटेशन दीजिए. सीईओ ऑफ आधार, डीजी ऑफ आधार, आज टू गिव अ प्रेजेंटेशन कि आप बताइए कैसे हम लीकेजेस. बेस्ट आईटी माइंड्स हैव बीन ब्रॉट इन, right? You device, you link it with Aadhaar so that you ensure that there are no leakages. You do GPS tagging of ration shops. You do GPS tagging of ration vehicles जो carry कर रही हैं. Please go and look at the websites of Food Department of Chhattisgarh, Food Department of Gujarat, Food Department of Karnataka, Food Department of Madhya Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Kerala. These are some guys who have done phenomenal work. इनका हर एक चीज tracked है. एवरीथिंग इज बाय एसएमएस. इतना किलो गेहूं आया, इतना किलो गेहूं जाएगा, सब कुछ ट्रैक्ड है. एसएमएस से मिलता है. यू जस्ट रजिस्टर योर नंबर, यू आर गोइंग टू गेट इट. यू मे बी अ बेनिफिशियरी, यू मे बी द सरपंच, यू मे बी अ बिजी बॉडी, यू मे बी अ जर्नलिस्ट. यू जस्ट पुट इन योर मोबाइल नंबर, आपको सारे अपडेट्स आएंगे. ट्रक नंबर सो एंड सो हैज लेफ्ट कैरिंग सो मेनी किलोज ऑफ दिस. It has been uploaded now. जैसे आपके Amazon पे आते हैं अपडेट्स, वैसे ही it has now been the stuff has been downloaded at so and so ration at so and so time. राइट. द राशन शॉप का खुलने का टाइम क्या है, राशन का शॉप कितने बजे से इतने बजे तक, थैंक यू संतोष, इतने बजे से इतने बजे तक खुलेगी, राइट. एंड ऑल ऑफ दोज थिंग्स हैव बीन tagged. So this is an attempt to improve the system. The system today, I can assure you, I have seen for myself in the most backward, remote districts, remote villages of Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh. 2 districts I have seen. It has improved phenomenally. And in urban India, I have seen two places, and I have seen that it has improved phenomenally compared to what it was. Does it have scope for improvement? Of course, it has tremendous scope for improvement. How does it become a fundamental right? Because you do not have a right to live. Justice Deepak Mishra has said in his beautiful judgment in emergent cyanide case, and he says that a hungry man cannot commit any offense. He cannot enjoy any poetry. He cannot look at the moonlit sky. He cannot enjoy anything. भूखा आदमी कुछ नहीं कर सकता, इसलिए ये बहुत बेसिक ह्यूमन राइट है, ये आपको देना ही पड़ेगा. They virtually brought it within Article 21. And आज की पोजीशन, फिर इसके बाद because of this central government was forced to enact NFSA, National Food Security Act. जो इन्होंने सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा हुआ है, इन्होंने सब कुछ NFSA में इनकॉर्पोरेट किया. बल्कि in some cases they have gone beyond what the Supreme Court has said. Legal entitlements, जो अभी तक स्टेट का डायरेक्शन था, स्टेट को अभी तक मैंडेट था, इट इज नाउ लीगल एंटाइटलमेंट. आदमी डिमांड कर सकता है कि साहब मुझे इतना किलो गेहूं दीजिए, इतना किलो चावल दीजिए, डिपेंडिंग ऑन माय फूड हैबिट्स पर मंथ. और अगर आप फेल करते हैं तो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट को आपको एक फूड सिक्योरिटी अलाउंस देना पड़ेगा, एक्स नंबर ऑफ रुपीस पर केजी. अब इस एक्ट के 2-3 क्रिटिसिज्म मैं बताऊंगा कि आपने रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी तो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट की है, प्रोक्योरमेंट की. सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट स्टेट्स को ट्रांसफर करता है वो फूड, पर जो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है अप्लाई करने की वो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के पास है. स्टेट गवर्नमेंट कहता है मेरे पास तो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है बट पावर नहीं है. लोकल गवर्नमेंट के पास होनी चाहिए. लोकल गवर्नमेंट इज द कलेक्टर एंड द पंचायत एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट. सो देयर आर थोड़ी सी 2-3 प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, बट मे बी दे विल गेट सॉल्व्ड एट सम पॉइंट. बट एज ऑफ नाउ दिस एक्ट आफ्टर अबाउट 4-5 years of working, I think it's working reasonably well. So now 7 years actually of working, it is now, I would say, it is working reasonably well. But yes, it has completely failed, I'm sorry to say. during the ongoing COVID pandemic absolutely failed. I'm absolutely very sorry to say, I have been seeing for myself. I have been going and visiting Mr. Chaudhary's work. Absolutely total failure, abject failure of the state. Mr. Chaudhary has talked about the same thing. Mr. Piyush Thakur has talked about the same thing. It is really very, very sad that it has been an abject failure of the state during the case of this. See, ये तो स्टेट का काम है. आप जाके देखिए अर्जेंटीना में, ब्राजील में किस तरह से काम होता है. ये लोग कम्युनिटी सूप किचन खोलते हैं यहाँ पे और कम्युनिटी डाइनिंग हॉल खोलते हैं. ऐसा नहीं कि पैंडेमिक के टाइम, नॉर्मल सिचुएशन में इनमें सूप पिलाते हैं, इनमें वो खिलाते हैं. अब स्कूल चिल्ड्रन का मिड डे मील प्रोग्राम देखिए कैसा है. हमारा राशन शॉप नेटवर्क इज द हाईएस्ट, द लार्जेस्ट बाय फार इन द वर्ल्ड, बट हमारा मिड डे मील इतना खराब है. हम मिड डे मील में उनको कचरा खिलाते हैं, सॉरी टू से, बच्चों को कचरा खिलाते हैं, बच्चों को बिस्किट खिला देते हैं. टीचरों की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी लगा देते हैं खाना बनाओ. टीचर खाना बनाएगा कि पढ़ाएगा? ऑफन वो दोनों नहीं करता. अगर उसको दो काम बोल दोगे वो दोनों नहीं करेगा. तो बहुत ही ज्यादा खराब. अच्छा, कुक का पैसा हम खा जाते हैं. ऑनरेरियम इज देयर फॉर कुक्स, वो हम खा जाते हैं पैसा. वो मॉनिटर हम अभी तक नहीं कर पाए. राइट. सो विद दिस आई थिंक आई वुड हैंड इट ओवर टू द मॉडरेटर मैडम for further remarks.
Also, there is a in section 30, in section 44 of this act.
Yes,
there
madam.
is this
Yes.
clause that we cannot claim to the government in case they fail to provide food, and somehow it saves the government from all the claims in the situation of war, in the
वो मैं वही
situation
आपको
of
कह रहा था.
calamity,
Yes,
right?
absolutely,
So we
absolutely
cannot
right.
go and say that okay, so government failed during this time, so we cannot claim. So
And again, this is what you are very rightly, ma'am, you have very rightly picked up this point. Just to interject, you have very rightly picked up this point. It is the responsibility is of the state government to provide the food. State government says हमें सेंटर ने नहीं दिया. सेंटर कहता है हमारे पास तो डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन मॉनिटरिंग का कोई मैकेनिज्म नहीं है. State is the one which is sitting there. I am sitting in Delhi. How will I monitor? So this is a problem. And when you have created a situation like madam has rightly pointed out, एक्ट में सेक्शन 44 दे दिया कि साहब वॉर हो जाएगी तो हम आपको खाना नहीं देंगे. तो क्या वॉर में क्या आदमी व्हाट इज एक्सपेक्टेड टू डू, डाई? और इज एवरीबडी एक्सपेक्टेड टू ओपन अ डिपो इन देयर हाउस कि जिसमें वो 100 किलो चावल रखे? Is that what you expect of everyone?
Yes, and I personally think even during these situations we need the support of government, because
Exactly.
we are in lockdown. People are not earning, laborers are not earning, but they do not have any employment or secured money, right? So what they want during this time, they want help of state government, central government. And if we are putting this clause 44 in food security, and I mean this important act which came after so many after this important PIL, right? So
Yes.
if we are not able to, I mean, do
Yes.
anything for these people in this situation, I think there is no use of it.
I understand.
So, okay, so we are moving to Mr. Chaudhary first. So what is your take, sir? And as you're also helping laborers and people in this specific time, so I think you know it really well.
Yeah, see, there can't be other viewpoint that right to food is a very sacrosanct. And without having this right, you can't use any other right. There is no any use of any other right. That means either they're in the constitution or for that matter, even the human rights.
Hmm.
But the main issue is that we are so much obsessed with this thing that see, since time immemorial, we are taking care of everything. Means from tree to human being, means every other creatures. These days we are talking about the right to food of only a human being. But see, what will happen to the other creatures, the animals, and the right of means various other creatures.
Very
No,
good
the
point.
condition is that we are moving in because see, there is a case of rapid urbanization. There is a case of fast deforestation. You have the case of that means suddenly the whole means village economy is coming to the urban centers. It means that tomorrow you will not leaving any space to the other creatures to live in this planet, and their problem lies because अभी आप तुरंत तो ये काम कर दे रहे हो, लेकिन सडनली क्या हो रहा है, एक्सटिंक्शन. मतलब जो अदर बाकी क्रिएचर्स जो है उनको इतनी डिफिकल्ट वो कंडीशन, इतने डिफिकल्ट वो फेजेज है जहां पर कि उनके लिए सर्वाइवल ही मुश्किल है. अभी हम इनके बारे में चर्चा करते हैं क्योंकि मींस बिकॉज दे कैन अप्रोच इवन द सुप्रीम कोर्ट, द अपेक्स कोर्ट, एंड दैट्स व्हाई दे हैव मींस बिकॉज एज दे हैव एवरी राइट्स टू गो देयर, वो वहां पर बोल ले रहे हैं, लेकिन फिर इनका क्या जो बोल ही नहीं पाते। तो मुझे लगता है कि कहीं ना कहीं इस सारे मतलब इसके एस्पेक्ट को और वाइडर करने की जरूरत है। एंड दिस पर्टिकुलर राइट मीन्स द राइट टू फूड इज हैविंग वेरी वाइडर कॉनोटेशंस, एंड दैट्स व्हाई प्लीज मीन्स वी शुड नॉट नैरो डाउन ओनली मीन्स दिस राइट ओनली टू द ह्यूमन बीइंग्स। और इसलिए मुझे लग रहा है कि करंट जो पोजीशन है ये इसके लिए सबसे सही समय है जब किसके बारे में हम सोचें। क्योंकि आप देखो ऐसा नहीं है कि बहुत सारे भी हम पिक्चर्स अभी हम देख रहे थे कि जो बहुत सारे अलग अलग जो जंगल्स के मतलब जंगल के जो एनिमल्स हैं जो वो फॉरेस्ट से सारे अर्बन सिटीज की तरफ आ रहे हैं, उसका सिर्फ ये कारण नहीं है कि वो लोगों को नहीं देख रहे हैं और समथिंग कंस्पिक्यूअस हैपेंड एंड दैट्स व्हाई दे आर कमिंग इनटू द अर्बन सिटीज। द मेन रीजन इज दैट दे आर नॉट गेटिंग फूड देयर। अब जिसको जो पहले टूरिस्ट वहां पर जाते थे वो वहां पर उसको फूड देते थे, अब वहां पर वो फूड उसे नहीं मिल रहा और सडनली इस हंगर के कारण वो अभी जो अर्बन एरियाज है उसमें वो आ रहे। दूसरी बात मुझे लग रहा है कि मीन्स वी आर टॉकिंग ऑन सम मीन्स ऑन टू डिफरेंट ट्रेंड्स। वन इज दैट at one point of time we are saying because right to food also includes its availability, its accessibility, means whether it is accessible to the people or not, or means whether people can access this right or not. And second and third thing is the nutrition quotient, whether it is nutritious or not. और अभी चौधरी जी ने बहुत इस पे कहा है।
बीच में आ सकता हूँ मैं, 1 मिनट बीच में आ सकता हूँ पीयूष जी?
यस श्योर सर।
देखिए ऐसा है, न्यूट्रिशन वाली बात बहुत अच्छी बोली। इनफैक्ट आर्टिकल 47 जो आपका डीपीएसपी है वो यही बात कहता है, स्टेट का लेवल है, स्टेट की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है टू रेज द लेवल ऑफ हेल्थ एंड न्यूट्रिशन। साहब न्यूट्रिशियस फूड की तो कोई यहाँ बात ही नहीं करता, यहाँ तो इतना ही बोल रहे हैं कि एडिक्वेट फूड मिल जाए, पेट भरने के लिए मिल जाए। न्यूट्रिशियस की तो यहाँ कोई बात भी नहीं करता। ये तो वो वाली बात है कि आप पहले पॉइंट ए तक पहुंचिए फिर पॉइंट बी। तो जैसा कि मैडम ने भी बोला कि ऐसे मौकों पे तो आपको और ज्यादा स्टेट की जरूरत है, और स्टेट और एक्ट ही कह रहा है कि साहब ऐसे मौकों पे स्टेट पीछे हट सकता है, राइट। सो राइट टू होलसम फूड वाली बात जो है, जो वेस्ट इवॉल्व कर गया है वहां तक, यहाँ तक तो हम अभी पहुंचे ही नहीं है। हम अभी राइट टू फूड। और एक और चीज मैं कहना चाहूंगा, जैसे पुराने जमाने में जो 50s में 60s में जब हमारे पास फूड होता नहीं था, हम वहाँ गए, इंदिरा गांधी जी गई वहां पे निक्सन साहब से मांगने के लिए, और आपको सबको पता है निक्सन ने क्या बोला, that bloody bitch has come with a begging bowl once again. This has come in public domain. I mean, this is not moment of my imagination. लाल बहादुर शास्त्री जी ने बोला कि साहब आप दिन में एक बार रोटी खाइए, बाकी मत रोटी खाइए, दिन में एक बार खाना खाइए, 2 रोटी से ज्यादा मत खाइए, देश के लिए योगदान दीजिए। तब आपके पास था नहीं, आज आपके पास है। टुडे द प्रॉब्लम इज वन ऑफ डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन। तो वो प्रॉब्लम फर्क है, पहले अवेलेबिलिटी की प्रॉब्लम थी, आज डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की है। तो जैसे कि पीयूष जी बोल रहे हैं कि बिल्कुल सही चीज है। अब आप डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की बात करिए, और आपका जो नेक्स्ट स्टेप होना चाहिए, जैसे देखिए बच्चा होता है पहले 45% बोलते हैं, फिर उसके बाद वी से प्लीज गेट 60%, देन वी से प्लीज गेट 70%, प्लीज डोंट स्टॉप। So here we also, it's not that we have got right to food, we should stop. No, first of all, we should get rid of things like 44, as madam pointed out. Then we have to get rid of what Piyush ji is talking. He is talking a lot of sense that आप nutritious food की बात करिए, food ही नहीं nutritious food की बात करिए। चौधरी जी भी वही बात कर रहे थे that you talk about good food which is wholesome food. ऐसा नहीं कि उसको बदबू आ रही है खाने में। Please sir, go ahead.
But इसमें सबसे बड़ी जो प्रॉब्लम है, see the biggest problem which when government is facing now, that means there is a PIL machinery, और हम सभी जानते हैं कि वो PIL फाइल कर। लेकिन आप देखो, अब सबसे मेन बात ये है कि चूंकि we are the largest producer of milk in the whole world, and now the problem is because we have Article 48 which prohibits that you can't cut the milch animal, the milch or draught animal. अब अगर उस पर अगर कोई क्रॉस स्लॉटर लॉ लेके अगर कोई गवर्नमेंट आ रही है, अब फिर आप या फिर उसके इम्प्लीमेंटेशन की अगर बात हो रही है, then suddenly you started raising questions against the government. No, their problem lies because see, until and unless you will not get the adequate quantity of milk, of course you can't supply means unadulterated milk. There until and unless you will now the actual position is आपकी डिमांड हो रही है जितनी, उसकी प्रोडक्शन उसका 40% पे है। अब अगर 40% अगर उसकी मिल्क का अगर प्रोडक्शन है तो निश्चित रूप से वो कुछ ना कुछ मिलाकर ही बेचे। तो जरूरत इस बात की भी है कि अगर गवर्नमेंट, because see there can be 2 modes of any change, either it will come from the top or either it will start from the bottom। अगर सिविल सोसाइटी चाहे तो कर ले या फिर चाहे गवर्नमेंट। अगर गवर्नमेंट अगर लॉज लेके अगर आ रही है तो without going into the the ideology of any political party, or for that matter a stance of any political party, one should look into that what policy is, and if it is in the favor of this nation, if it is in the favor of common people of this country, then of course one should support that. अगर कोई मिल्स अगर एनिमल को अगर उसको लेकर अगर आ रहा है कि उसकी किलिंग नहीं अगर हो सकती है, तो फिर भाई आप उसको सपोर्ट करना होगा. अगर जब तक आप ये चीज नहीं करोगे, आप इंश्योर नहीं कर सकते हो कि वो क्वालिटी आप मेंटेन कर पाओगे. जो उसमें जो थर्ड चीज है वो ये है कि अगर माइग्रेशन का अगर कोई इशू है, या फिर अगर, क्योंकि हम अगर ये देखें कि अगर अभी फार्म्स लैंड की बात हो रही है, क्योंकि दिनों दिन फार्म्स लैंड छोटे होते हैं. बहुत सारे एरियाज में ऐसा है कि आप जैसे यूएसए में अगर आप जो एग्रीकल्चर लैंड उसका डिक्लेयर हो चुका है, यू कांट बिल्ड अ होम इन दोज एरियाज. और अगर आप ऐसा अगर कर रहे हो तो यू विल बी पनिशेबल, मींस यू विल बी लायबल फॉर द क्राइम दैट यू हैव कमिटेड, बिकॉज दिस इज नॉट अ मींस, because see, even if you are owning that land, but that doesn't permit you to do anything on that. Means what purpose? Means government has fixed, government has demarcated that particular area for one purpose that you have to abide by. और अगर आप इंडिया में ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. अगर आप देखो जितने फार्म्स एरियाज हैं वहां पर आप घर बन रहे हैं, क्योंकि पॉपुलेशन एक्सप्लोजन इतना है, लोगों को वहां से बाहर जाना पड़ रहा है. अब उस कंडीशन में जाके फिर उनके पास वो चीज बच नहीं रहा है कि वहां पर प्रोडक्शन हो जाए. अभी आप देख लो कि कोई भी, मतलब खास करके अभी बिहार यूपी में एक बड़ा डिबेट चल रहा है, क्योंकि सारे माइग्रेंट्स लेबर जब से अभी वहां पर आए हैं, तो ये है कि फिर वो ऑप्शन क्या दिया जाए. क्योंकि बिहार का ही एक फार्मर है जिसका अभी हाईएस्ट रिकॉर्ड है 1 हेक्टेयर में, वो लगभग, जैसे ऑन एन एवरेज इंडिया में ये होता है कि 1 हेक्टेयर में हम कम से कम 2 टन हम पैदा करते हैं राइस, लेकिन उस फार्मर के पास वो रिकॉर्ड है कि वो 22 टन पैदा कर रहा है सिर्फ 1 हेक्टेयर में. उसके पीछे उसका ये कहना है कि भाई हम कोई भी जितने भी नए इक्विपमेंट्स आ रहे हैं, जो एग्रीकल्चर इक्विपमेंट्स है, उसको वो यूज कर सकता है. अब ऐसे अगर छोटे जो फार्म लैंड्स है उसमें वो चीज यूज ही नहीं हो सकता है. तो गवर्नमेंट को, अभी गवर्नमेंट इस मतलब डायरेक्शन में जब आप अभी अपने कुछ लॉज पास करेंगी, जब तक वो नहीं करेंगी तब तक हम सिर्फ इसकी चर्चा कर सकते हैं. बिकॉज सी मीन्स, फिर अगेन वी आर कमिंग ऑन द सेम पॉइंट कि अगर मींस डिस्पाइट द फैक्ट दैट वी हैव द लॉज, बट व्हाट अबाउट द इंप्लीमेंटेशंस. क्योंकि अगर हम अगर लॉ रहेंगे भी, अगर इंप्लीमेंटेशन अगर नहीं हो पाएगा, फिर देयर इज नो एनी पर्पस ऑफ एनी डिबेट और एनी लॉ. जब और इंप्लीमेंटेशन तभी पॉसिबल है जबकि एक प्रॉपर मैकेनिज्म डेवलप हो जाए. और उसमें मुझे लग रहा है कि गवर्नमेंट और सिविल सोसाइटी दोनों का एक मींस दोनों एक मिडिल पाथ पड़ा है. कहीं ना कहीं किसी का राइट उसमें वायलेट नहीं हो सकता है. अभी अगर हम गवर्नमेंट को अगर, चूंकि बहुत सारी कंपनियां ऐसी है जो कि चाइना से निकल रही है और उसको हम चाह रहे हैं कि वो इंडिया आ जाए, वो इंडिया है कि वो लेबर लॉ का कभी से हमने पहले से ही उसको यूपी में, जैसे यूपी गवर्नमेंट ने पास कर दिया है, जब वो बोल दिया है कि भाई हम 3 साल के लिए उसको मोरेटोरियम दे देंगे लेबर लॉ. लेकिन ये है ना कि अगर आप लेबर लॉ पे अगर उसको अगर मोरेटोरियम अगर दे रहे हैं, फिर उससे किसका राइट वायलेट हो रहा है? क्या उसके बाद इवेंचुअली उसे वो कंडीशन वो हो पा रहा है या नहीं पा रहा है, जिस कंडीशन वो जीना चाह रहा है वो जी पाएगा या नहीं जी पाएगा. तो सवाल ये है कि सिर्फ, और दूसरी बात एक जो काफी इंपॉर्टेंट है वो ये है कि दे आर कमिंग विद सम देयर मींस न्यू इक्विपमेंट्स, न्यू टेक्नोलॉजीज. And India having such humongous population, because we are a country of 1.5 billion, of course we can't expect some country to come in here, and means we do not need any capital intensive industries, we need labor intensive industries. क्योंकि जब तक हम अगर वो नहीं करेंगे तब तक एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेट नहीं कर पाएंगे. एम्प्लॉयमेंट नहीं जनरेट करेंगे, पैसा अगर नहीं आएगा, लोग कभी भी राइट टू फूड को अवेल कर ही नहीं सकते. गवर्नमेंट, एक चीज आप मान के चलो कि कभी भी कोई भी गवर्नमेंट जिसने, इसके बावजूद कि हम सोशलिस्ट के प्रिंसिपल को, मतलब सोशलिज्म को अभी भी हमने प्रीएम्बल में डाल रखा हुआ है, लेकिन वी हैव ऑलरेडी मींस मूव्ड फार अवे फ्रॉम दैट पर्टिकुलर प्रिंसिपल. और हम अभी लिबरलाइजेशन, प्राइवेटाइजेशन, ग्लोबलाइजेशन के दौर में है. वहां पर वो फ्री नहीं कुछ दे रहा है, और फ्री अगर नहीं देगा तो फिर किसी न किसी के पास पैसा तो होना चाहिए जो वो परचेज कर सके. तो मुझे लग रहा है कि जरूरत इस बात की भी है कि वहां पर गवर्नमेंट इसके प्रॉपर इम्प्लीमेंटेशन के लिए जो अलग अलग लॉज है उसे वो लाए. और मुझे लग रहा है सिविल सोसाइटी शुड आल्सो होल हार्टेडली वेलकम यू.
Okay, thank you, sir. So we are moving to Anshul Chaudhary. He's working for Feed for India. Like he's helping these poor people and feeding so many people during this time. So what is your take as a right to food as a human fundamental right and human right?
Yeah, first of all, I just like make a minor correction. It's feed the need. And this is a campaign which is currently going under, and we're serving 27,000 people every day. And आज हमने 8.5 लाख लोगों को meals पहुंचा दी हैं total since the day of its inception, that was 28th of March. So, and now coming back to right to food and what it essentially entails. Right to food, according to me, is realized at a time when the poorest man in the country eats it and digests it. That's when the right to food is realized. And when I say that he digests it, it entails everything because one, एक ही सबसे गरीब आदमी को भी खाना मिल गया है, दूसरा उसे डाइजेस्ट कर लिया है तो certainly there was a quality, there was a minimum quality and there wasn't anything rotten in it, इसलिए वो चला गया. तीसरा, कि फाइनली राइट टू फूड बेसिकली मीन्स कि हर बंदे को खाना मिल जाना चाहिए एंड एसेंशियली अगर वो खुद अपने मीन से नहीं उसको खरीद पा रहा है देन द रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी फॉल्स ऑन द रिस्पेक्टिव स्टेट और द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट व्होएवर कम्स फॉरवर्ड टू मेक श्योर दैट everybody has access to that kind of food. And coming back to Mr. Thakur's point that right to food is not something that is just limited to humans but also to animals in this world and other creatures. I think that before we go over this, essentially अभी तक तो यही चल रहा है कि जितने भी pets हैं, either they are being fed by communities or by individuals who collectively or individually take up responsibility to do so. But at the same point of time, there isn't anything specific in the government, and जितना भी हमने government authorities को देखा है with respect to pets, their main role is just coming to the respective societies, picking up the dogs जिनके लिए complaint हुई है या उनके ऊपर कुछ अत्याचार हुआ है तो आगे लेंगे. इससे ज़्यादा government का role नहीं रहा है visibly जो कि society में रहा है. Now coming back to right to food. Now I think in summation there are 3 parts to it. One, that एक सबसे गरीब से गरीब आदमी तक पहुंचना चाहिए. दूसरा, एक नंबर ऑफ लिमिट सेट करने की जरूरत है which is certainly in contradiction to the present limit of 5 kgs per person per month जो कि अभी currently under the public distribution scheme जा रहा है. अगर हम मानेंगे कि वो अंत्योदय स्कीम में या मिड डे स्कीम में भी जा रहा है then also there should be sufficient safeguards to ensure that एक minimum realizable quality है जो कि सिर्फ इंडिविजुअल नहीं बट उसकी फैमिली को भी गारंटी करता है राइट टू फूड. देन comes the nutritional value that again जो ये कहते हैं नेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ न्यूट्रिशन है उसने आइडेंटिफाई तो कर रखा है कि डेली कैलोरिक वैल्यू क्या है, क्या कहते हैं एक पर्टिकुलर ह्यूमन बीइंग की जो कि सिटी में रह रहा है या जो कि विलेज में रह रहा है, द कैलोरी. However, at the same point of time, there aren't any measures to make sure that एक खाना कहाँ पे बन रहा है, दूसरा हाइजीन लेवल क्या है, तीसरा खाने की वैरायटी क्या है. Because let us face it, when you are trying to give food to a very big number of people, you cannot just keep giving out the same thing every day and night. Because at some point of time, you have to realize that these people are dependent on you for their day-to-day requirements of food, and the collective responsibility is on you as a state to ensure that you're not just fulfilling a requirement, but at one point of time also taking care of one big dimension of these lives which are coming to you for food. And with this, I think much of right to food has been covered by the esteemed speakers on this panel. Thank you.
Yes. So right to food, as of now, like what I have read, it is enshrined into Article 21, and through Menka Gandhi State Union of India. So right to food, and also there was another case, which is Shanti Sir Builders versus Narayan Khimaman. So in this case, it was stated that the right to life is guaranteed in any civilized society that would take within its sweep the right to food, the right to clothing, the right to decent environment, and a reasonable accommodation to live in. So I think right to food somehow it has its roots into constitution also. Another thing is through Article 39A, it gives responsibility to the state through directive principles that it is the responsibility of the state, like the state shall in particular direct its policy towards securing that the citizens, men and women, equally have the right to an adequate means of livelihood. And I think livelihood somehow food, shelter, and clothing, right?
Correct. Absolutely right, ma'am. Absolutely right.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you so much. So we are moving on to third part and most important part of our this conversation, which is free food amidst COVID-19 pandemic. A state responsibility or a collective social responsibility. So I would like to start with Mr. Anshul Chaudhary. What is
Yes,
your
I think
take
that's
on this?
absolutely correct. I think that's absolutely correct because
Yeah.
Mr. Chaudhary has been working in this area. And in fact, I was about to suggest this to you, but you have outthought me, madam. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Yes.
It's a great initiative.
No,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
And once he is done with it, I will tell you a little more about it. So, yes, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, so with regard to food security in the present COVID times, I think there is a lot that needs to be said about what measures were taken. Then, what was the quality of those measures? I'm not talking about the quality of those of the food, but the quality of those measures. Then, at the same point of time, I'm gonna talk about the voluntary societies and voluntary religious institutions that have come out to help and supplement or rather give an alternative to the substandard food by the government. So
Hmm.
basically, with regard to Delhi, Arvind Kejriwal came out with a scheme very guaranteed that 40 lakh people will be fed by him on an everyday note. I think as Dr. Parikshit Sirohi rightly pointed out, that there is an abject failure by the government to ensure that during these coronavirus lockdown times, the government has done absolutely nothing to ensure that good quality food is being given to people. And this cannot be said about other states. For example, in Chennai, Unavangam is a canteen that has been running for quite some time. So they just
Yes.
increased their production and they ensured that nobody in Chennai and other connected regions are going without food for even a
Hmm.
day by just
Hmm.
making sure that more state authorities and more state officials are coming ahead and ensuring that things are going well. But specifically with regard to food in Delhi, I'd like to point out that one, there is not sufficient food because we see queues for food start building up at 5 a.m. in the morning. The
Hmm.
numbers are not in thousands or single thousands now. They're in 10,000s and 25,000 people are out in queues just to get food. And this is the case when food is being given at stations at around 2 p.m. So one
Hmm.
can imagine the kind of desperation that there is for even basic food such as rice or khichdi, which are being currently given by many institutions. Now,
Hmm. Hmm.
whether this is a completely government-driven effort or this is supposed to be something that is supposed to be a public-private enterprise in which things are supposed to work, I think that so far as production, procurement, and everything is concerned, such a large-scale operation can only be undertaken by the state, and any other alternative can only be given if it is backed by the government. Because without the government, such a huge measure or such a huge operation cannot take place in any manner. Especially because a lockdown is in place, and even moving out of the locality needs the permission by the DM or the cooperation by the local police. Now,
Correct.
coming to the part that what happening, then what needs to happen is that one, that all the various efforts that are being done by individuals like Dr. Sirohi and I and several other individuals in the society who are working towards ensuring food security to several persons. A roll call needs to be maintained that who are the people who are coming ahead and doing all of this. Then, effectively, organization needs to exist that every place is secured, that no region remains uncovered or in the shadows with regard to food distribution. Then, especially since we know that middle class families and upper class families are still somehow managing, much more importantly, middle class families are still somehow managing to feed themselves with whatever they want. But the low class families and the people living in clusters, especially those persons who don't have ration card, who don't have access to their identity card, have been left have been ignored by each and every person in the society. Why? Because even the ration which is being given to anybody or everybody is only being given to people who hold either a ration card or an Aadhaar card. And needless to point out that people in slums live in a room where 20 people are staying in a room. They don't have any of their identity card. Much of their income was coming from working on a daily wage basis at some local shop or at some local market or or any establishment which was taking them 200, 300, 500 rupees per day. and that is how they were affording themselves the lifestyle and also sending money back home, whatever they were doing. That's completely different. Now, now that we have identified that people without ration cards and Aadhaar are not being protected or given any sort of guarantee by the state, essentially the responsibility will fall on the next authority, which in this case was supposed to be the municipal authorities who were supposed to organize food distribution in schools, but somehow that is also not being managed by municipal authorities there because I agree that they are understaffed because a lot of sanitization is taking place as of now. But at the same point of time, such an important aspect of this lockdown cannot be ignored under any circumstance, and it cannot just be left to the ill will of disorganized people trying to make an effort with regard to feeding more and more number of people. I mean, I would definitely like to commend a lot of organizations, NGOs, and religious institutions like Bangla Sahib who have come out and maintained the number of 20,000, 50,000, 70,000, even a lakh meals a day. But at the same point of time, we really need to acknowledge the fact that one, all of it is completely disorganized because none of the people completely manage as to what is happening in their areas. At some places, you will find several NGOs working at the same place, and in some places, you will completely find dark shadows that nobody is even willing to go there for the fear that maybe it's a containment zone. And let us be clear on that point that even if an area is marked as a containment zone, it cannot be left under any circumstance कि वहाँ पे खाना नहीं जाएगा. For example, अगर एक झुग्गी में क्या कहते हैं containment zone बन जाता है, no person is allowed over there. The police will never give you the permission. MCD officials will blanketly refuse that they will not enter the area. And so I don't think I need to point it out that अब वो एक ऐसी जगह है जहाँ पे हजारों लोग भूखे पड़े रहेंगे 14 दिन के लिए अगर वहाँ पे एक केस है, अगर 2 केस है तो 28 दिन के लिए, and much more till the time that containment zone is no longer a containment zone. So effectively there is no measure, and as stated by Dr. Sirohi before, there is a complete failure. So with regard to food safety, the measure that I propose that the government should do as of now is one, they should open a functional portal or a functional helpline where people not just can say that we are ready to supply food, this is the quantity, this is the kitchen, please organize us and map us onto your scale so that we can organize it. Then also make sure that there is a helpline that where people can phone them and say that we have a requirement of such and such people, they please send us food. None of the helplines that have been given by the Delhi government are working. I have personally myself tried to approach the respective MLAs. I wouldn't want to name them for the sake of not troubling myself.
Let's maintain political neutrality. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, MPs, MLAs, municipal MCD councillors, everybody has been contacted, not once by all modes, repeated number of times. None of them have come forward till date. So I think with regard to the government, ऐसा नहीं है कि उन्होंने कुछ करा नहीं, लेकिन जब उनको किसी ने बोला कि चलो कुछ करते हैं, even at that time they failed to even get up from their seats and try arranging even one single thing for them. With this, I conclude my my address on food security during this COVID time.
Thank you so much. So moving on with Mr. Parikshit Sirohi, what is your take, sir?
Thank you, madam. Yes, Mr. Chaudhary has rightly pointed out. Now, let me just give you a background of this. See, there are some states which are doing better. Kerala, Tamil Nadu definitely doing much better than others. But this is not a problem of one particular state or one particular political ideology. Punjab has been doing very well. I've been following them up. Home delivery of ration and all kinds of things they've been doing. I will give you an example of Madhya Pradesh. And this is an isolated example, right? I mean, you could have some parts of Madhya Pradesh doing well and others not being well. And, so those kinds of things will be there. So there is this district in Madhya Pradesh, which is the heart of Madhya Pradesh commercially, called Indore. And since that is my home state, I have been following that up with a lot of interest. So everything is absolutely red over there. It is the Bombay of Madhya Pradesh, right? Just like Bombay is or Mumbai is the the red of India as far as COVID is concerned. So this particular district has very serious problems. The municipal part, the urban part, rural Indore is not a problem. Municipal part has very serious problems. Now, in the poshest of posh colonies, people who have retired as High Court judges, people who have retired as IAS officers, those kinds of people, I am getting distress calls from them. Can you please arrange this? I'm telling you from personal anecdotal evidence. I got a call from a friend of mine who works in Gurgaon, and his daughter and son of 8 months and wife had gone to his in-laws' place. Stupid thing to do, but you can't be hung for stupidity, no? People do stupid things, so they had gone on the 18th of March to go and spend time with the in-laws. Stupid because everybody knew that lockdown was happening and things were going to get bad. You should never be moving around, but then they moved around, and they took adequate baby food and whatever, but it ran out. The father-in-law had stocked up enough, but it ran out. Now, in end of April, early May, I get a distress call that, look, please do something. We have no baby food. We have no this. We have no that. We are surviving only on biscuits. Even that is gone. I said, what do you get? फिर वो कचरा उठाने वाली गाड़ी आती है, कचरा वाली गाड़ी आती है जो मिनी ट्रक होता है, एंड उसमें जो है 3 आइटम आते हैं, दूध, अंडा और ब्रेड. नो सब्जी फॉर 1 month. वी हैव ओनली बीन ईटिंग राजमा. राजमा खत्म हो गया. नो दाल, नो आटा, नथिंग. So he gave me a list running into 30 items. मैंने कहा, oh boss, 30 items nobody can arrange. You pick out, prioritize. I'll get you 5 or 6. So diapers, Cerelac, this, that, and very interesting because we are talking about the state's response. So he called up the state helpline, Chief Minister's helpline XYZ, and mind you, I told you the background. So of the father-in-law, and called up all these helplines, and he was asked to do breastfeeding. The lady was asked to do breastfeeding. 8 months. If you understand basics of biology, you will understand that after 6 months that is not possible. And then in urban women, the kind of stresses that you live in, even after 4 months, it is probably not possible, right? And said, okay, you manage without this. Now, what will the child eat? There is no mashed potato in the house. There is no mashed banana in the house. These are posh people. These are well-educated urban people. डॉक्टर, मेडिकल डॉक्टर्स एंड पीएचडी होल्डर्स. मैं कहता हूँ असली डॉक्टर और फर्जी डॉक्टर, राइट? उस तरह के लोग हैं ये. उनका ये हाल है. आप कभी सोच रहे हैं गरीब आदमी का क्या हाल होता है? दैट इज वाई कोविड हैज शोन अस दैट फॉर द स्टेट द पुअर इज नॉट इवन अ फुटनोट इन द चैप्टर. आपने गरीब आदमी को फुटनोट से भी नीचे गिरा दिया है. I don't mean to be cynical, but people like Mr. Chaudhary, people like him, they have been the only saving grace. Mr. Chaudhary has been using his own personal resources. He has been running a restaurant which he has closed, which he has converted for this purpose. And he has been looking around for crowdfunding to run his initiative. So he probably knows a thing or two. As Mr. Thakur has also pointed, there is a concerted effort which is required to overcome this. Because otherwise, I'm afraid we'll be only talking about these kinds of things. And right to food, which is a basic fundamental right, this irrespective of Antyodaya, irrespective of Indira Gandhi National Old Age Pension, irrespective of what is laid down in Shanti Star Builders, irrespective of what is laid down in emergent this thing by Justice Muralidhar, will only remain a chimera. So I would just conclude by saying what Boutros Ghali ultimately said, that the problem is one which requires political will. जिस दिन आपको political will मिल जाएगा, उस दिन आप ये problem solve कर लेंगे. ये problem is not one of anything else. It is just the political will. And I will take you to the declaration on World Food Security in the Rome Declaration of 1996. Countries of the world are saying, we pledge our political will and common and national commitment to achieving food security for all, at all times. All times, which is what Madam pointed out, Section 44. And to ongoing effort to eradicate hunger in all countries, with an immediate view to reducing the number of undernourished people to half their present number no later than 2015. ये बात आपने 1996 में की थी कि 20 साल में हम आधा कर देंगे. क्या 20 साल में आपने आधे किए? No sir, डबल हो गए. Right? So this is what I would want to leave you on. Think, have food for thought, and see what people are saying. It is faulty government distribution policies, faulty government networks which are to blame. So thank you very much. And once again, thank you very much, Deepak Joshi ji. I have had the proud privilege of being your teacher. And please keep doing this good work. And please, continue to do these kind of things. Thank you very much, Deepak. Thank you very much, Anshul. Thank you, Mr. Thakur. And thank you, Ekta ji.
So you talk about political will. What I personally think, like, this is my individual view, that we have this hierarchy in political scenario also. Cabinet ministers, MLAs, even if the MLA, specific MLA of a constituency, understand his responsibility, there should be a sense of responsibility, right? We have chosen that, right? If they understand the responsibility, we can easily solve this problem, right? We have people, citizens, those who are working, like they are thinking that this is their moral duty and this is their duty, and they are proactively coming and helping. Plus, if these people, MLAs and other political figures, if they understand their sense of responsibility, come and we can collectively help the problem during this time, I think we can go through it. But
Yes, very
I
well
think
said.
there is something which is which we are not understanding. There are too many layers of political scenarios in this situation also, and I
Not
think
just
that
political, administrative also.
that
When you say
exactly,
political,
exactly.
you have to include administrative also. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. So, Mr. Piyush, what is your take on this situation?
See, there are three basic issues as far as this topic is concerned. One is that free food. Second one is collective responsibility, means social responsibility, and third is government responsibility. Of course, I will start from the point where Parikshit sir has left us. That free food, why should only means limited only during this pandemic? Free food must be provided for the means for all the people, means it should be accessible to all for all the times. Means either it would be means during difficult phase, or it will be normal times. But each and every time, because everyone requires food, and that's why you means being in government, of course, government has this responsibility to provide food to them. See, now the means if I will come to the second part of it, that collective responsibility or government responsibility. In this country, we have 3.2 million NGOs, registered NGOs. I am talking. And it means that if you divide the total number of population by the NGOs, it means that if one NGO will take the responsibility of 50 people, then the whole country will be covered. And you can just see the condition that what is happening here. It means that government has to take this responsibility, because civil society has means apart from this particular difficult times, yes, civil society has failed in its responsibilities. And because and if you raise this question, then of course someone will say that government has many other things to do. See, government can set off some of its responsibilities, because government has nothing to do with the coal factory. Government can leave many things which is not essential for the survival of people. But government has to take care of at least three things. One is education, second one is health, and third one is food.
Correct.
Because government can't run away from all these responsibilities. And the third point is, see, and like if even otherwise, if you want to want that civil society and means a society at large to take this responsibility, then of course you have to make all those institutions free, either social or religious institution, and hand it over to the private bodies. And what you can do, you can regulate. You can just regulate it, because there are many questions being raised. That, see, like if your government will leave temples, then what will happen? See, because there are mechanisms, there are proper regulatory mechanisms, and in a democracy, this particular logic can't be accepted. One should not subscribe to this particular ideas that if one institution is failed to do it, that the other institution will usurp their power, because that can't be permitted. And that's why means whenever we are talking about the domain of each and every institution, be it legislature or executive or judiciary, every time we put similar viewpoint that if executive is failing in its work, or judiciary or legislature is failing in its work, that doesn't mean that judiciary will take over everything. Or for that means reverse is also true. Vice versa is also true, that if judiciary is not doing the work, it doesn't mean, or it doesn't give the power to the executive or legislature to take over the power, to take control of judicial power. In similar fashion, if society is not doing means, or something wrong is happening, that doesn't mean that you will take every power in your own hand. That's why better would be to leave all those institutions. Means you can control it through your regulatory mechanism, but at least give them the power so that they can manage the affairs of the society. And of course, means after this, means 10 years or 12 or 20 years down the line, I am sure that some positive outcome must come. And because see, अब हमारे पास कोई ऑप्शन भी नहीं है कि अगर क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट ने बहुत कुछ कर लिया है, हमने देख लिया गवर्नमेंट की क्या फंक्शनलिटी हो रही है, क्या इम्प्लीमेंटेशन का वे है, हम सभी ने उसको देखा है. तो उस हिसाब से फिर अगर हम चलते रहे तो शायद 100 वर्षों के बाद भी कुछ पूरा नहीं हो पाएगा। इसलिए मुझे लग रहा है कि एक मीन्स डेलिकेट बैलेंस की जरूरत है। अगर वो अगर फॉर्मुलेट अगर हम कर ले सोसाइटी और गवर्नमेंट, क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट भी कोई अलग नहीं है, वो हमारे ही रिप्रेजेंटेटिव हैं और ना ही उसे हम अलग छोड़ना चाहते हैं। ऐसा नहीं है कि क्योंकि पार्लियामेंट्री डेमोक्रेसी इसलिए हमने अडॉप्ट किया है, वी आर नॉट इन द प्रेसिडेंशियल फॉर्म ऑफ गवर्नमेंट, क्योंकि हम उन्हें लायबल करना चाह रहे थे हर एक सेकंड के लिए। हम 4 या 5 ईयर में हम एक बार उसे लायबल नहीं करना चाहते। It is our government and that's why the responsibility is on us too, that whenever they will not work, they are not working properly, then of course we should raise our voice और हमें ये बताना पड़ेगा कि आप यहाँ ठीक ढंग से काम कर रहे हो, यहाँ सही काम करना। Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. So there are few questions by the viewers. So first one is, are there any check and balance system which look over the nutritional value of the food so produced, not only subjected to quality of the food? This question is by Advocate Akshay Agarwal. Any one of you can answer it.
Would you want me to take it?
Yeah, sure.
So Akshay is asking for this question which he has put in the chat box. I'm just reading that one out, unless it is a different one.
Yeah.
So he says, I'm sorry, ma'am.
There are 3 questions. I picked one only.
No, you pick one. Yeah, you pick one. I'm sorry. You are asking about the checks and balance system. Yeah, the checks and balance
You can
system.
answer any one. We are going to answer all 3 questions, obviously.
Okay, no. I thought, the checks and balance one is what I thought I'll pick up. See, in the present system, we have inherent checks and balances, but are they institutionalized? The answer is no. Do you have FAQ norms, fair average quality norms, when food is procured, when FCI procures? इतना बड़ा होना चाहिए दाना, उसमें moisture content इतना होना चाहिए. Yes, we have those. उसके बाद उसको स्टोरेज करते हैं तो उसमें कितना टेम्परेचर होना चाहिए, कितना मॉइस्चर होना चाहिए. वी हैव दोज नॉर्म्स. व्हेन दे आर सेंट आउट, द बोरा इज सेंट आउट इन द ट्रक, देयर इज अ नॉर्म. नाउ व्हेन इट रीचेस द राशन शॉप, इज देयर अ नॉर्म? द आंसर इज नो. So that is where we are. Are we tracking it at every stage like Amazon does for its packages? The answer is no. Are we doing it at 3 stages of procurement, storage, and when it is loaded? Because often procurement and when it is loaded is 2 years apart. तो उसमें हम पीरियड में उसको चेक करते रहते हैं, राइट. वी कीप डिक्लेयरिंग फूड ग्रेन्स अनफिट फॉर ह्यूमन कंजम्पशन, वो जानवरों को खिलाने के लिए दे देते हैं. और फिर वर्स्ट सिचुएशन वो होती है जब उसको हम कहते हैं भाई स्टोरेज कॉस्ट बहुत ज्यादा है, इसको नदी में बहा दो, समुद्र में बहा दो. दैट इज द बिगेस्ट प्रॉब्लम. सो एफसीआई कीप्स डूइंग दैट आल्सो पीरियडिकली, लीगली, अंडर परमिशन फ्रॉम द फूड डिपार्टमेंट, राइट. दैट इसका स्टोरेज कॉस्ट ज्यादा हो गया है और ये ज्यादा पुराना गेहूं हो गया या ज्यादा पुराना ये हो गया है, चावल हो गया है, प्लीज इसको आप नदी में बहा दीजिए. तो पहले कोशिश करते हैं जानवर के लिए, एनिमल फीड के लिए बना दें. और उसमें आप नुकसान देखिए, आप खरीद रहे हैं 50 रुपए पे, आप उसको स्टोर कर रहे हैं 10-12 रुपए, उसका स्टोरेज कॉस्ट हो गया. आपने उसको खरीद के प्रोक्योरमेंट कॉस्ट किया, मैं पर केजी की बात कर रहा हूँ, तो आप उसको एग्जाम्पल दे रहा हूँ, 50 रुपए का आप खरीद रहे हैं, 10 रुपए आपका स्टोरेज कॉस्ट हो गया. और उसके बाद आप उसको फिर दोबारा भेज रहे हैं प्रोक्योरमेंट सेंटर से, सॉरी स्टोरेज सेंटर से जहाँ पे वो जाना है, 10 रुपए और हो गया, 70 रुपए का हो गया. आप उसको बेच रहे हैं 2 रुपए का. आपको लॉस कितना ज्यादा हो रहा है? आई एम टॉकिंग प्योरली कमर्शियल टर्म्स. इट इज नॉट लॉस ऑफ कोर्स, बिकॉज इट इज अ पार्ट ऑफ योर सोशल ऑब्लिगेशंस. So it is imperative that you manage your stocks in a very scientific manner, and it is very imperative that you follow last in, last out, first in, first out, right? So that is the inherent checks and balances in the system, and so to ensure nutritional value. Are you procuring the best? You try to, but then there are political compulsions. Everybody says कि नहीं जी, मेरे स्टेट का जितना भी गेहूं आया, स्पेशली पंजाब हरियाणा, they will say जी सारा खरीदना है. People will set fire to the mandi, people will beat up the procuring officer. Those kind of things will be there. What happens in West Bengal? Worst state, I would say, in terms of procurement. I call it the sovereign republic of West Bengal. No offense against anybody, but when it comes to procurement, it is the sovereign republic of West Bengal. Right? They waste so much. The procurement process is so inefficient. I'm talking about चावल. गेहूं तो उनके यहाँ बहुत कम होता है जो procurement होता है. चावल इतना खराब है कि system that I just can't even tell you. In contrast, you look at Punjab, Haryana, you look at Western UP, extremely streamlined. So there are pockets of excellence. There are pockets of this thing. Similarly, when it comes to distribution, Kerala is fantastic, right? Chhattisgarh is fantastic. Gujarat, Karnataka, fantastic. So this is where my take on the subject.
And
Thank you,
also
sir.
to add, the National Institute of Nutrition had published a dietary guideline
Yeah,
stating
exactly.
all nutritional values that are to be there.
2400 and
Even
2100.
first it did it in 1998 and then it did it in 2011, which
Hmm.
clearly states each and every nutritional value that is supposed to be there. And yeah, that's it.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. So there is one another question by Advocate Akshay Agarwal. Why there is a situation that we need to seek food as a matter of right? It is a basic as human dignity or breathing air, of which we as human don't seek as a right. It is something which comes naturally to us.
Hmm. So, as a teacher of constitution law, I'll be very happy to answer this. See,
Hmm.
in an ideal situation, every human right should be a fundamental right. Now, but unfortunately, in countries like ours, who are intrinsically so poor, every human right does not become a fundamental right. There are certain human rights which remain only DPSPs. They do not become fundamental rights. In countries like US, they have gone beyond human rights also. So many people argue right to privacy. Is it so important in India? Puttaswamy judgment is there 2017. This is only an American concept. People argue. ये इंडिया में इसकी
Totally
कोई
agree.
जरूरत नहीं, राइट? ये जो है इंडिया में इसकी कोई जरूरत नहीं है. That is what people argue. Bringing that
Correct.
logic to this thing, जो अंशुल जी ने भी पहले बात की है, that you are in the interest of transparency, you are marking people's houses कि ये BPL household है, उससे उसकी dignity तो खत्म कर दिया आपने. बट इंडिया में हम सर्टेन ह्यूमन राइट्स को हम रिकॉग्नाइज नहीं करते हैं एज फंडामेंटल राइट्स. सो अब ये बात जो है हम इसको, सो इन इंडिया वी हैव एक्चुअली एलिवेटेड इट फ्रॉम अ ह्यूमन राइट टू अ फंडामेंटल राइट. देखिए, कुछ लेवल पे मैं जो कह रहा हूँ आपको हास्यास्पद लग रहा होगा. यू माइट फाइंड व्हाट आई एम सेइंग इज अटर नॉनसेंस, बिकॉज ह्यूमन राइट शुड बी मच हायर देन एनीथिंग एल्स. बट इन इंडिया, बिकॉज ऑफ द ग्राउंड रियलिटीज, आवर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इज नॉट गारंटिंग यू दैट राइट्स एक्सप्लिसिटली. अब कर दिया है, अब एक्सप्लिसिट हो गया है, बट अब मींस इट हैज टेकन व्हाट 2013, so it has taken 66 years to do it. Similarly, many other things, right to privacy has now become, Francis Corelli has made right to housing a fundamental right explicitly. Again happened in 1981. So these things are happening over and over a period of time. Gay rights are now fundamental rights, but it has taken you 70 years to get there. Similarly, so many things are happening. So, Akshay, if you recall, we had this discussion in class also many years ago that in India, nobody understands intellectual property. I just don't understand. I go and teach in the Judicial Academy. वहाँ लोगों को नहीं समझ में आता पेटेंट क्या होता है. तो ग्राउंड रियलिटीज को ध्यान में रखते हुए ये जो है इतना बेसिक है, बट फिर भी जो है आपको डिमांड करना पड़ता है. ये थोड़ी सी विडंबना है. प्लीज.
So there is one another question by Mr. Akshay Agarwal. Can we see a urban shift of population to rural to sub-rural areas because of the food issues?
Piyush ji, would you like to take this?
Sure, sir.
ये पूछ रहे हैं अर्बन शिफ्ट ऑफ पॉपुलेशन हो रहा है तो टू रूरल एरियाज, ये खाने के कारण हो रहा है. थोड़ा सा आप इस पे बोलेंगे, बिकॉज आई थिंक यू हैव वर्कड इन दिस एरिया.
हाँ, no, because I was checking the question. That was the actual question.
Please.
Yeah. See, of course, means as in rural areas, the condition has become pathetic. Production नहीं है तो वह of course उन्हें लगता है कि means because they have to search for the employment, they have means they are coming out for the job, और फिर उन्हें लगता है कि वो चीज चूंकि वहाँ पर पॉसिबिलिटी है, बिकॉज अवेलेबिलिटी वहाँ पर ज्यादा है जो अर्बन एरियाज है, उन्हें ऐसा बस लग रहा है. एक्चुअल में क्या कंडीशन है वो तो यहाँ आने के बाद
और ज्यादा खराब है, वो आप देख रहे हैं ना.
Exactly. तो और दूसरी बात, जब वो वहाँ पर आते हैं उनके पास वहाँ अपना घर है, वहाँ अपने घर में मतलब 5 कमरे के घर में वहाँ पर 4 मेंबर हैं, यहाँ पर उनको एक कमरे में आके 5 मेंबर को रहना पड़ रहा है. या कभी कभार तो जो लेबर क्लास होते हैं वो तो शिफ्ट में सोते हैं. मतलब अगर वो 10 लोग मिलके एक कमरा लेता है और फिर उसके बाद वो बेचारे 5-5, 6-6 में शिफ्ट में काम. तो ये जो शिफ्ट जो चेंजेस जो आ रहा है, जो कि अर्बन से सेमी मतलब रूरल से सेमी अर्बन और फिर अर्बन में, मुझे लग रहा है कि वो कंडीशन को वर्सन कर रहा है. मतलब और इसको लेकर गवर्नमेंट में इसको लेकर कोई अगर कॉन्फ्लिक्ट, exactly, and if government will not come up with some concrete policy against this to stop this migratory pattern, then of course condition will become means after 5 years or 10 years condition will become pathetic even in urban areas. क्योंकि अभी एक रिपोर्ट है,
प्लीज गो अहेड,
बस मैं हाँ एक बस पॉइंट है उसमें क्या है कि अभी एक रिपोर्ट आया हुआ है कि ऐसे मतलब चांसेस हैं जो 50 years down the line the whole population will shrink only to 2% of land. मतलब सारे को आप यहाँ तक ले आओगे, फिर you can just imagine that what will happen means whether where water will be available at that point of time or not, or where you can means provide a proper transportation system, or for that matter means जितने गार्बेज सिस्टम से कोई भी चीज वहां पर उस टाइम उसकी अवेलेबिलिटी क्या रहेगी ये सिर्फ समय ही बताएगा, क्योंकि अभी तो यू कांट इवन इमेजिन कि कंडीशन क्या होने वाला है.
I think Piyush ji has captured it very well. I was expecting that he would, and he has not, left anything unturned. So I will just quickly build up on these things. ये दो तीन चीजें यहाँ पे आपको देखनी पड़ेंगी साहब. आप आते हैं, हिंदी का एक थोड़ा सा proverb है. I will just take that with the permission of the moderator. There is a proverb in Hindi which says, thank you ma'am, it says, चौबे जी छब्बे बनने चले थे, दूबे बन के आ गए. मतलब आप 4 थे, 4 से आप 6 बनने गए थे, गाँव से शहर आए थे, लेकिन 2 पे ही रह गए. So I have had the good fortune of working in the Supreme Court as Central Government Counsel for the High Court for 3 years and in the Supreme Court for 3 years. I was doing railway matters, I was doing various matters. I was doing Jamia matters, education matters, various things I have done. So I had one case I just want to talk because that is very poignant. There was a Jamia employee, class 4 employee, and he was fighting for his pension and he had reached the Supreme Court. Small little guy, his pension was 8,000, 7,000 rupees. I mean, absolutely unlettered fellow, jhadu marne wala. He belonged to a village in Uttar Pradesh, in Bahraich district. His father was a taxi driver in Bombay. And the entire family moved out. ये सोच के कि साहब हम लोगों की जिंदगी का सुधार आएगा. अब जिंदगी में सुधार आया तो this man, when he came to court, I literally had tears in my eyes. बिकॉज जैसा पीयूष जी ने बोला कि साहब हमारे पास वहाँ 4 कमरे का मकान था, हम 5 आदमी रहते थे, ऐसा ही कुछ इनकी कहानी थी. इनके पास लैंड भी था. अब इनको लगा कि हम खुद का लैंड था, लोगों से कल्टीवेट भी कराते थे. और यहाँ पे जामिया में आके पहले टेम्पररी नौकरी, एडहॉक वाली नौकरी, और फिर वो रेगुलर वाली नौकरी, 10 लोगों की सिफारिश करो, 10 लोगों के पर्सनल काम करो, ओवर एंड अबव दैट गंदे काम करो. फिर फाइनली नौकरी लगती है साहब 16,000 रुपये, 12,000 रुपये तनख्वाह वाली. 12,000 रुपये तनख्वाह में जब वो रिटायर हुआ, 12,000 रुपये वॉज नॉट हिज इनिशियल तनख्वाह. तो उसने जितनी भी साल नौकरी की होगी, तो 20-22 साल नौकरी की थी. उसके बाद जो है 12,000 रुपये, 14,000 रुपये तनख्वाह, 12,000 रुपये तनख्वाह हो गई. फिर वो बढ़ के जो है, बिकॉज इसी पेंशन ऑल्सो इंक्रीजेज अकॉर्डिंग टू योर सैलरी, सो हिज पेंशन बिकेम 6,000 एंड ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम हिज पेंशन बिकेम 8,000. जामिया had denied him that pension. सरकारी इंस्टीट्यूशन तो अच्छे थोड़ी होते हैं, हर किसी को दौड़ा देते हैं. तो ये आदमी लड़ के, थोड़ा सा मजबूत आदमी था, लड़ के ऊपर तक आया, सुप्रीम कोर्ट तक आया. हाँ, आई वाज ऑन द अदर साइड, वी वर फाइटिंग फॉर जामिया. मेरे को इतनी शर्म आई कि हम ऐसा केस प्रोसिक्यूट कर रहे हैं, ऐसा आदमी को पेंशन डिनाई कर रहे हैं, बहुत शर्म आई. एंड ही सेज विद हिज ओन, एंड ही इज लिटरली क्राइंग इन द सुप्रीम कोर्ट before Justice Kapadia, then CJI. Kapadia साहब खुद सुनते थे. Now he is no more, God bless him. So he says, साहब हम जो है आए थे सोच के कि 2 रोटी ज्यादा खा लेंगे, लेकिन 2 रोटी क्या, हम तो कुछ भी नहीं खा पाते. So the question here becomes that इससे माइग्रेशन हो रहा है, शहर लोग आते हैं, पर शहर में उनको कुछ मिलता नहीं है. ये आदमी 10 आदमी रह रहे थे एक कमरे में. पीयूष जी ने तो बोला 5 आदमी रह रहे थे. ये एस्बेस्टॉस के कमरे में इन्होंने जो है अपने कमरे के बारे में बताया कि कहाँ ये रहते थे, किस तरह के इनके हालात थे. एक वो एस्बेस्टॉस, यू नो हाउ हार्मफुल एस्बेस्टॉस इज. एस्बेस्टोसिस हो जाती है, वो लंग्स खत्म हो जाती हैं. एस्बेस्टॉस की शीट, कच्चा दीवार, उस तरह की बस्ती में ये लोग 10 आदमी एक कमरे में रह रहे हैं. टॉयलेट का कोई कंसेप्ट नहीं है. आप ओडीएफ की बात करते हैं, मैं जहाँ रहता हूँ बहुत पॉश एरिया है साहब, दिल्ली का बहुत पॉश एरिया है. लुटियंस दिल्ली की बिल्कुल बाउंड्री पे है, और यहाँ पे लोग सब ओडीएफ डिक्लेयर्ड है. बट मेरी कॉलोनी से 2 मिनट बाहर निकलिए, बड़े बड़े स्कूल हैं वहाँ पे, दिल्ली पब्लिक स्कूल और फलाना और ये और वो, सब बैठे रहते हैं सुबह, और आप ओडीएफ की बात कर रहे हैं. सो दिस शिफ्ट इज हैपनिंग This shift is happening, and this shift is going to create a lot of pressure on urban resources. This shift is going to create a lot of pressure on rural resources. अभी आपने देख लिया ना कोविड में क्या हुआ. अब this migration is going to happen back to the rural areas, and now you will have fights there over land. तो दोनों ही सिचुएशन में आपकी हालत खराब है. कमिंग बैक टू व्हाट पीयूष जी सेड, पॉपुलेशन इज द मेजर प्रॉब्लम. हर चीज का सोल्यूशन अल्टीमेटली ले दे के पॉपुलेशन पे ही आ जाए. स्टेट के पास एवेन्यू क्यों होता है करप्शन करने का? इसलिए होता है एवेन्यू करप्शन करने का क्योंकि एक अनार 100 बीमार. एज सिंपल एज दैट, right? So this is where I would like to answer this particular question. If Mr. Chaudhary has something to add, please go ahead, sir.
I'm good. I'm good.
Thank you so much. It was a very insightful conversation, and I think we have concluded that there should be some responsibility for citizens as well, and also for state. And अंशुल सर के जैसे लोग काम आगे आकर जब काम कर रहे हैं तो कुछ चीज़ें सॉल्व खुद ही हो रही हैं, बट समहाउ देयर इज़ अ लैक ऑफ रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. जहाँ जैसे उन्होंने बताएंगे खुद के एक्सपीरियंस से कि कुछ लोग हैं जो आगे नहीं आ रहे हैं, जो कि एक पॉलिटिकल विल होनी चाहिए, पॉलिटिकल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में कहीं कुछ कमी है. उसके साथ ही आज भी एक डायरेक्शन आई है कर्नाटका हाई कोर्ट की. स्टेट गवर्नमेंट को एक रिकमेंडेशन था कि कोई हंगर जैसे कि डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस के लिए कंप्लेन के लिए एक टोल फ्री नंबर होता है, वैसे ही हमें एक हंगर हेल्पलाइन होना चाहिए, so that we can have this ratio and all.
Actually, madam, sorry to interrupt you. I'm sorry, but this kind of a provision was already laid down by in the PUCL case when Colin Gonsalves was arguing. So in the PUCL case, the Supreme Court has already said this. There should be a national level toll-free number, hunger helpline. That is what they have said. The Karnataka people have just borrowed it from there and re-emphasized on it. So, ma'am, please continue.
There was this report which was submitted to the High Court, and then High Court recommended state government about the same. और इसमें मुझे PUCL का जो आपने अभी बताया तो उसमें भी एक ऑर्डर था, उसमें एक ऑर्डर इंटरिम ऑर्डर था जिसमें यही कहा था सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कि फूड से रिलेटेड जो भी इशू होगा उसमें कुछ कमी आती है. हाँ, तो इसमें अगर कुछ भी इशू होता है तो उसकी अकाउंटेबिलिटी स्टेट और सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ही लिए होगा. Thank you so much, sir, and thank you so much. Thank you all of you.
Madam, will you give me half a minute just to tell our participants, participants, those who are here, my earnest request to you, all of you, is do your bit to at this time. I mean, it is not just about money. If you are good at designing a website, please help people do that. If you are good at IT, please help at that. Many of you may be students, many of you may be professionals who may be hit by this pandemic equally. You may not have enough money to spare, but everything in life is not about money. So volunteer your skills and help others like Mr. Chaudhary to get this food to people. Mr. Chaudhary has a website and Facebook page called Feed the Need. I'll repeat it. It's FEEDTHENEED. Feed the Need, no space. So please वहाँ जाके एक बार देखिए क्या काम हो रहा है, किस तरह का काम हो रहा है. And there are several others like him. I mean, I'm not doing any kind of brand promotion, but there are several people like this who are doing this. I mean, since Mr. Chaudhary is known, since Mr. Chaudhary I know personally for his integrity and various other things. I have known him, like I said, for almost a decade now, and one gets to know a lot about a person over that period of time. I've had the good fortune of knowing him, and there are others who do this. ये जाके आप देखिए, अगर आप IT प्लेटफॉर्म में कुछ मदद कर सकते हैं, अगर आपको वेबसाइट डिजाइनिंग आती है तो कुछ इस तरह की चीजें करिए, बिकॉज इस तरह का इनिशिएटिव कोई एक आदमी तो नहीं ले सकता. अब ये कह रहे हैं इन्होंने 8 लाख लोगों को खाना खिलाया, तो ये तो सब 1.25 करोड़ का खर्चा हो गया. 1.25 करोड़ रुपए भाई एक आदमी के बस का तो नहीं है. So it has to come, and there are good people in the world who will be willing to open up their wallets, right? There are several people who have donated their, I mean, I have been following with Mr. Chaudhary. I mean, 10,000 rupees, 7,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees. Bar and Bench have provided him coverage. Malayalam newspapers have provided him coverage. So obviously he must be doing something right, because these people will not be publishing just like that. So I would request you to just go once. Feed the Need is the place, and just see how best, if you are interested, you can help people. people like Mr. Chaudhary, and through him people like society, because like madam has pointed out, sarkar ke akele ke bas ka nahi hai, or governance is too big a task which is to be left to the government alone, especially in times like these which are emergency situations. So with this, I thank you very much once again, and let us all do our bit to help our fellow brethren during this time. It will help you, it will give you personal satisfaction, and it will help others also.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Piyush ji. Wonderful meeting you. Anshul ji, thank you. And Ekta
Same
madam,
here.
thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.